All right, everyone, welcome to today's episode of Payroll Expert Reads W2, W3 instructions. Today we are going to cover where to file paper forms W2 and W3. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here. All right, so where to file paper forms W2 and W3. You can file copy A of Forms W-2 and Form W-3 at the following address: Social Security Administration, Direct Operations Center, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania 18769-0001. And I probably pronounced the name of the city wrong, and that's because I'm from Minnesota and don't know any better. Tip: if you use certified mail to file changes in zip code to 18769-002, if you use an IRS approved private delivery service, add attention W-2 process 1150 East Mountain Drive to the address and change the zip code to 18702-7997. Go to irs.gov/PDS for a list of IRS approved private delivery services. Caution: do not send cash, checks, or money order or other forms of payment with Form W-2 and W-3 that you submit to the SSA. Employment tax forms, for example, Form 941, 943, remittances, and Forms 1099 must be sent to the IRS. Copy 1. Send copy 1 of Form W-2 if required to your state, city, or local tax department. For more information concerning copy 1, including how to complete boxes 15 through 20, contact your state, city, or local tax department. And there's a special address if you're filing W-2 or copy 1 of Form W3SS and Form W2AS. You send those to the American Samoa Tax Office, Executive Office Building, First Floor, Pago Pago, AS 96799. And Guam, you will file copy 1 of Form W3SS and Form W2GU to the following address: Guam Department of Revenue and Taxation, P.O. Box 23607, GMF, GU 96921. For additional information about Form W-2 GU, see guamtax.com. In the Virgin Islands, you file copy 1 of Form W3SS and Form W2VI to the following address: Virgin Islands Bureau of Internal Revenue, 6115 Estate Smith Bay, Suite 225, St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, 00802. For additional information about Form W2VI, see bir.vi.gov. For the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, file Form OS 3710 and copy 1 of Forms W2CM to the following address: Division of Revenue and Taxation, Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands, P.O. Box 5234, CHRB, Saipan, MP 96950. Forms OS 3710 and W2CM are not IRS forms. For additional information about Form W2CM, see finance.gov/MP/forms.php. For shipping and mailing, if you file more than one type of employment tax form, group Form W-2 of the same type with a separate Form W-3 for each type and send them in separate groups. See the specific instructions for Box B, kind of payer, and Box B, kind of employer, in specific instructions for Form W-3, which we are going to cover later. And I would say In my experience, it is not very common to file more than one type of employment tax form with the same EIN. However, I have seen that it does happen. And for basically for every type of employment tax form group that you file, or for every employment tax form that you file, group the W-2s that are in that employment tax, that are reported on that employment tax form, group those together and mail them separately. It is very important that you do not mail them together because sometimes the forms will get mixed up and it will cause issues. So you want to prepare and file forms W-2 either alphabetically by the employee's last name or numerically by the employee's social security number. Do not staple or tape form W-3 to the related forms W-2 or forms W-2 to each other. These forms are machine read. Staple holes and tears interfere with the machine reading. Also, do not fold forms W-2 and W-3. You want to send the forms to the SSA in a flat mailing. And we talked about this in another video, but it is very important that you get an envelope that is big enough to hold the W-2s and the W-3 flat. You do not want them to be folded at all. They will, and a staple or taping them together will cause a jam in the machine. And most likely the W-2s will be destroyed. And there's not really anybody that's going to send them back and say, hey, we got them, they got wrecked, kindly submit new ones. You're usually the first clue that you'll have that the W-2s or W-3s did not process correctly is getting a letter from the IRS saying that they did not receive your W-2s from the SSA. So it's very important to remember that the W-2s get mailed to the Social Security Administration, not to the IRS, but the SSA does take the forms, and once they get them scanned and processed so they can do what they need to with it, they forward them on to the IRS. We're going to cover furnishing copies B, C, and 2 to employees right now. Generally, you must furnish copies B, C, and 2 of Form W-2 to your employees by January 31st, 2022, this year. You will meet the furnish requirement if the form is properly addressed and mailed on or before the due date. If employment ends before December 31st, 2021, you may furnish copies of to the employee at any time after employment ends, but no later than January 31st, 2022. If an employee asks for Form W-2, give him or her the completed copies within 30 days of the request or within 30 days of the final wage payment, whichever is later. However, if you terminate your business, there's special instructions that we'll cover later in terminating a business. You may furnish Forms W-2 to employees on IRS official forms or on acceptable substitute forms. So say an employee works for just a couple weeks in January, and January 30th was their last day that or January, let's say January 24th was their last day because that was a business day. So January 24th, 2022, they quit, and immediately upon their resignation, they ask for a Form W-2. Well, the 2022 W forms are not out in their final version, but there are substitute forms, or the draft forms are available online. You can print one of those out, or you can order some from the IRS and handwrite one for them. And it's not going to be the official one. I would still send an official W-2 to them when you finish when you do the W-2s in January of 2023 for 2022. Most of the time, people don't ask for their W-2s ahead of time. They usually will start asking for them in December or January. And at that point, they're going to get them when they are ready. And because if they're still an employee, you have no obligation to furnish the W-2s ahead of time. So you just have to make sure that the Form W-2 you provide employees are clear and legible and comply with the requirements on publication 1141. Forms W-2 that include logos, slogans, and advertisements, including advertisements for tax preparation software, may be considered as suspicious or altered Forms W-2, also known as questionable Form W-2. An employee may not recognize the importance of the employee copy for tax reporting purposes due to the use of logos, slogans, and advertisements. Therefore, the IRS has determined that logos, slogans, and advertisements will not be allowed on Forms W3, Copy A, Forms W-2, or any employee copies reporting wages paid. Limited exceptions to this prohibition exist with respect to employee copies. See publication 1141 for more information. And extensions of time to furnish Forms W-2 to employees. You may request an extension of time to furnish W-2s to employees by faxing a letter to Internal Revenue Service Attention Extension of Time Coordinator, fax 866-477-0572 or international 304-579-4105. You have to fax the letter on or before the due date for furnishing W-2s to the employees. So at this point this year, it's too late. But the request must include your name and address, your EIN, a statement that you are requesting an extension to furnish Forms W-2 to employees, the reason for the delay, and your signature or that you're an authorized agent. Caution, requests for extensions of time to furnish Forms W-2 to employees are not automatically granted. If approved, an extension will generally be granted no more than 15 days from the due date, unless the need for up to a total of 30 days is clearly shown. See 2021 general instructions for certain informational returns. And it happens from time to time that you're going to have undeliverable Forms W-2. So if you get a W-2 back, you need to keep it for 4 years and that you tried but could not deliver. However, if an undeliverable Form W-2 can be produced electronically through April 15th of the 4th year after the year of issue, you do not need to keep undeliverable employee copies. Do not send undeliverable employee copies of Form W-2 to the SSA. Taxpayer, we're going to stop this recording here and we'll pick up on taxpayer identification numbers next time. We'll see you guys all again tomorrow. Bye. All right, I'm going to end this again because I accidentally closed the window or minimized the window instead of closing it. We'll see you guys all again tomorrow. Bye.